Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Mucking Fun Day. Did you have a good weekend? Well, I'm here to ruin it for you because, Mondays. Mondays are never good. I don't care if you know anybody who thinks Mondays are good. They're a weirdo. We're here to cover all the news stories that we've found that happened over the weekend or happening today. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we've started, and we haven't had any caffeine, or we haven't had it set in yet. We're just woken up, rolled out of bed. Let's get into these headlines. Today on Before Coffee, massive power outage in Spain, Portugal, and even France. And injured seals get care and sanctuary at a new center in the Netherlands.
Happy Monday, happy Mucking Fun Day. This is Roger from the United States, where we have skilled migrants are leaving the U.S. for Canada. How can the North gain from the brain drain?
Romanians confront a deluge of online disinformation ahead of a presidential election rerun.
And scientists discover a massive glowing hydrogen cloud found near our solar system. We're going to dive into that.
In culture news, Monty Python and the Holy Grail at 50 years old, a hilarious comic peak.
And it's National Superhero Day, so pat Superman on the back, I Batman a sandwich, I don't know. Reward your favorite superhero, April 28th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
I've never really been a huge fan of superheroes. I liked the MCU more for its its universe. You know, that universe part I liked, not the superheroes so much. That was never too impressive for me.
I always ask the superhero question. I always ask that question. Do you think Superman is happy ever?
Yeah.
How could he possibly be happy? If he saves the day, it was what he was supposed to do. And if he doesn't save the day, everybody blames him.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't have anything to do with the problem to begin with. So
where was Superman for me getting stuck in traffic and being late for work?
Yeah. We know Batman's a miserable sack of shit. Boy, that's an unhappy guy.
All the money in the world, but his parents are still dead. Right. Anyway, let's roll the segue.
Boy Wonder's all sparkly and happy, and Batman's always bringing him down. Anyway.
Alright, for this first story, remind me, or mind yourself, of a song as we talk about a power outage in the Iberian Peninsula and some of France. This is very recent news, like breaking news almost. 2 minutes from El País. Thousands of users across Spain and Portugal have suffered a power outage at varying duration. The Spanish government is investigating the outages with various technical teams for several ministries, although there's still no official explanation for what happened. That's suspicious. According to Red Electra, the public company responsible for the connections, work has been underway to resolve the outage since it started. The National Cybersecurity Institute, INCIBE, is also studying the situation surrounding the outage and its cause, in case it was a cyber attack. No conclusion has yet been reached, but it's only been like an hour since this happened, or at least this article came in. Redia pointed out that plans to restore electricity supply had been activated in collaboration with companies in the sector following the zero that occurred in the peninsular system, the company states on Twitter. The causes are being analyzed as resources are being dedicated to solve it, they added. Citizens in all Spanish autonomous communities and Portugal reported power outages shortly after noon. The power supply was partially restored for a few minutes, but soon was unrestored, I guess. The main Spanish electrical companies and consulted by El País have not given a reason for the outages. Power outages have affected communications, airports, and high-speed transport networks in both Spain and Portugal. Traffic lights and shopping centers have also been affected. In Portugal, the power outage is also widespread. Thousands of passengers at Lisbon Airport are experiencing widespread confusion after the power outage. The Portuguese government has not yet provided any official explanation for the failure in the country's power grid, which is affecting the telecommunications network. Red Electric Nacional, the company that manages red distribution, confirmed that the outage is widespread across the country and is trying to determine the cause. Infrastructure throughout Spain is suffering the consequences of the blackout. The ADIF network also experienced outages. Several airlines have reported interruptions at airports such as Madrid, Badajoz, while power was restored. In Madrid, the metro service is interrupted due to external causes due to the power outage, according to a message on social network Twitter. This time, the service at Madrid Carcianas network is also out of service due to a power outage. So that's their breaking news. I'm sure there will be more and more things discovered by the end of the day, but we won't be here for that because we'll be, I don't know, sleeping. I won't be sleeping, but... In other news, does that remind you of a song? Power outages?
The only song I could think of was The Roof. The roof is on fire. Burn. Anyway, that's all I can think of. Sorry.
For our next story, we're going to talk about injured seals who are getting care at a sanctuary in the Netherlands. This is from Molly Quell on AP News. Coming out of Lauwersoog in the Netherlands. Gliding gracefully through the waters at his home, Whitty pauses briefly to peer through a large window at the curious and admiring visitors. The 4-month-old gray seal is a lucky survivor, able to swim in one of the 9 new tanks at the World Heritage Center, or WEC, a recently opened seal rescue facility in Lauwersoog in the north of the Netherlands. Yeah, it makes sense that it's by the North Sea, because that's where the water is. He was brought in after being orphaned and was suffering from a swollen flipper and a damaged eye. On a yearly basis, we roughly treat about 200 seals, Sander van Dijk, the curator of the center, told the Associated Press. In 2024, researchers at Wageningen University in Netherlands counted around 24,000 seals across the Wadden Sea. Most are pups who get separated from their mother, known as howlers, for their plaintive wailing. Yeah, Mom, where'd you go? She's gone. Seals actually don't take care of their young for very long. I think it's 4 weeks and they're gone. They leave. So they just have separation anxiety, I guess. Others are injured by floating debris or are struck by passing vessels.
I hear. Dad went to the store to get a pack of cigarettes and never came back. 4 weeks.
In this case, it's the mom, I guess. Mom went to go get a pack of cigarettes and never came back. She was like, I'm hungry. I need to go eat. I had to sit here on the ice for 4 weeks straight, not eating. So I'm hungry.
All right. That's Mom and Dad went to the reservation to get a carton of cigarettes and everything. Anyway.
If we look at our own data over the past 15 years, we just see every year more seals than somehow getting entangled in waste in the sea, mostly fishing nets, Van Dijk said. The WEC, which officially opened on public last Saturday, replaces the Peterburen Seal Center, a rescue facility that was set up in 1971 to treat injured seals found in and around the Wadden Sea, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Whitty's tank is an upgrade from his previous quarters. He gets to swim in water directly from the sea rather than tap water in order to maintain a habitat as close as possible to the seal's natural environment. They are adapted to living in seawater. It's good for their fur, but also seawater through its salts and properties that make wounds heal faster, Van Dijk said. The WEC can treat around 70 seals at a time and has 12 intensive care units for animals with serious injuries who are able to recover in special enclosures which offer a calm environment. They are prevented from swimming in order to rest, and space is cleaned frequently to prevent infections from waste. The new building, which costs over 40 million euros or $45 million, with financing provided by local and regional governments, as well as charitable organizations, tells more than just a story of the seas. It's an educational space which teaches visitors about the Wadden Sea, the largest continuous system of intertidal flats in the world, extending along the coast of the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark. The new facility is significantly closer to the sea than the previous location. The tanks for the 10 seals currently reside at WEC look out over the water. Caregivers at the center are optimistic that Whitty will soon recover enough to be released back into the waves. So there's your more positive news. Power outage in Spain, Portugal, and France. But seals living the good life in a new caretaking facility, I guess you could call it.
Awesome. That should be a good news day, even, right? Easiest song that ever reminded me of a song so far. Reminds me of a song called Gray Seal by Elton John. So Bernie Taupin already wrote a song about Gray Seal.
A deep cut. All right, I'll come up with a hypothetical question or scenario for you.
I'll send you a clip of it, and then we can play that for
the next.
It's probably not even a metaphor. It's probably okay. All right, so let me get my glasses off. I don't really need to read these stories because it's in large print. Skilled migrants are leaving the U.S. for Canada, and this is from theconversation.com. Lori Hamada. Why does her first name go small letter and her last name is capitalized? I'll never understand it.
Maybe it's I don't know.
Anyways, I don't know. Lori's special. I don't want a capital L on my name. Anyway, skilled migrants, international students are leaving the United States for Canada in growing numbers. In March 2025 report by Statistics Canada reveals a sharp rise in numbers of American non-citizen residents moving to Canada. Reasons given are largely restrictive U.S. immigration policies, visa caps, and long waits time for green cards. This is a shift from earlier decades when American-born citizens were dominated by the trend. By 2019, nearly half of those making the move were non-U.S. citizen residents. So most of the people leaving the United States for Canada are not from the United States. I don't say most of them, but anyway, a large percentage. Since U.S. President Stinky the Clown's election win in early days in office, Google searches by American residents on how to move to Canada, New Zealand, and Australia have surged. Why those countries? Well, they all speak English. That's probably why.
Learning another language is scary.
Definitely, right. You gotta read road signs and shit. Where the hell am I? Get off and drive to the wrong town, and you end up as a slave. You end up as a slave in Bangladesh somewhere. Like, oh my god.
Just because you don't know how to read German.
Because you couldn't read the frickin' sign that says, caution, danger area, don't turn here. What does that mean? What's that big long word? Anyway, several high-profile academics have relocated to Canada universities amid growing concerns over threats to academic freedom. British Columbia recently announced plans to launch landmark policies to streamline the credential recognition process for internationally trained healthcare professionals, particularly American doctors and nurses. Don't forget that. I would say roughly half of our doctors, and it might be more than that. We're born somewhere else. My last two doctors were from India, which is, they send their people to American universities, which are very. We did the list a few years ago. America leads the world in great universities.
Yeah, but it's also because of the unequalness of global currency, right? If $1 in the U.S. is like, 1,000 rubles, I'm going to go work in the U.S., be a doctor there, and send all my money back to India, and they're going to be rich.
Right, and those assholes don't pay American taxes necessarily, right? Because they're not citizens. So they can send their money home. I mean, they do pay taxes, income tax, but again, they don't pay the full. But people are here illegally. They pay Social Security tax that they're never going to collect. Think about it that way. Anyway, skilled talent like healthcare professionals, researchers, and engineers are essential to building innovative, future-ready economies, but attracting them requires staying competitive in an increasingly global bid for talent. In this global race for talent, Canada and Australia need to offer not only efficient immigration pathways, but also faster credential recognition and better integration support. Yet both nations find themselves walking a tightrope. Once both celebrated as welcome destinations for global talent, each country has experienced recent immigration restrictions and growing anti-immigration sentiments. undermining those reputations. Now, the thing is, you can probably migrate to most European countries speak English. I found that out firsthand, at least the ones I traveled to. I did not have, even France, I didn't have a whole big trouble getting around. Research from Toronto's Metropolitan University's Migration and Integration Program shows Canada's appeal for skilled migrants is rooted in a mix of practical and aspirational factors. This includes a combination of high living standards, a promise of better career prospects, more accessible permanent residency pathways, and broadly welcoming society. But for migrants in Canada, these goals are becoming harder to attain. Since the pandemic, Canada's... Oh, okay, that's for a picture. Since the pandemic, Canada's immigration approach has shifted. During early COVID-19 years, Canada was praised for its inclusive response, including recognizing immigrants as essential to economic recovery. Temporary workers, including essential workers, international student graduates, and French-speaking immigrants, were offered new routes to permanent residency through a federal program. However, since 2024, Canada has taken a more cautious approach. New policy changes that target international students and cut temporary and permanent migration numbers have tarnished Canada's global reputation as a welcoming place. While permanent residency is still more accessible than the U.S., skilled migrants are increasingly questioning whether the wait for permanent residency is worth it. Australia visa rules slow things down. Australia faces similar dilemmas. In late 2023, the government launched a new migration strategy to address critical workforce shortages in construction, tech, and healthcare. The skills in demand visa promise faster processing and clearer pathways to permanent residency for workers in priority sectors. Yet a recent report by Grattan Institute warns that tighter eligibility rules risk excluding much-needed talent and potentially weakening Australia's competitiveness. Growing visa delays are also noted to be an additional barrier that may deter both prospective migrants and employers. Migration data often tells a story of numbers, categories, and eligibility thresholds. However, the human stories behind the numbers reveal deep systematic issues and missed opportunities. One recurring issue is the widespread phenomenon of desk killing. In both Canada and Australia, many skilled migrants often find themselves working at jobs far below their qualifications. These experiences are part of a pattern that affects not only individuals but also national economies, which lose out on full potential of their skilled workforce. Credential recognition systems are opaque, inconsistent, and frequently biased. The underside. Another overlooked issue that many skilled migrants do not move alone. People arrive with spouses, children, and sometimes elderly parents. Yet immigration and settlement systems in both countries are largely structured around individual economic migrants rather than families. In Canada, for instance, federally funded settlement services are mainly geared towards supporting only permanent residents. Many spouses, particularly women, face even greater barriers to employment. Issues also include things like high fees for visa processing for parents. Other considerations include children who may struggle with schooling and may struggle with schooling and identity in unfamiliar environments. Housing shortages and high costs in major urban areas compound these challenges, pushing newcomers into unaffordable living conditions. All of this contributes to growing disillusionments. Migrants initially drawn to Canada or Australia as alternatives to unwelcoming environments elsewhere may choose to still come, but doesn't mean they will stay. The experiences of skilled migrants in Canada and Australia show that attracting talent is only half the battle. The real challenge is in retention and integration. Many countries like Germany, Japan, South Korea, and some Gulf states have become offering more competitive pathways to immigration, along with promises of work-life balance, streamlined visa programs, and competitive salaries. This means skilled migrants are increasingly mobile. Australia has made strides in streamlining visa categories and targeting sectorial needs, and while Canada has built a strong narrative around inclusion and multiculturalism. However, there is a need to combine Australia's responsiveness and Canada's inclusive ethos to build a resilient migration systems. In an era defined by geopolitical uncertainties, countries can no longer afford to treat skilled migrants as temporary fixes or just economic inputs. They are people with aspirations, with families, and with dreams. They must be seen and supported as future citizens. To build future-ready migration systems, Canada must ensure transparency and consistency with immigration pathways and reduce uncertainties caused by policy reversals and lengthy processing times. They must improve credential recognition, career support, and help skilled migrants, including temporary residents, transition into roles that match their qualifications. They must develop regional settlement strategies to address where migrants settle and ensure suitable access to services, job markets, housing, especially outside major cities. Also adopt inclusive intersectional policies that consider gender, race, and class in shaping the migrant experience, including support for spouses, children, and aging parents. And finally, foster collaborative and responsive policy making. This involves connecting researchers, employers, community organizations, and migrants to inform policy making. For Canada, the challenge ahead is clear. It's not just about the opening of the door, it's about making sure that once here, migrants have the support, rights, and opportunities to walk through that door and thrive. Of course, when he's saying here, this was written by a Canadian, obviously. So there's your story. Lengthy, drawn-out story about migrants in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and actually not just giving them money and saying, hey, you got a job, be happy, giving them actual support. They contribute to the community, make the place a better place, and just go, I don't fit in here, what to do, everybody calls me names, Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot, of course, most people, right, they're from the place they're born, or they live in the place they're born in, right? There's not very few amount of people actually leave and go experience the kind of immigrant lifestyle. So, in a way, you get kind of stuck in this bubble of how do we make our country welcoming to these people when we don't know what it's like, right? A lot of people just don't know what it's like to be an immigrant. And, yeah, I mean, in a hypothetical scenario, there are a lot of women who feel like they can't leave for a better life, right? Like that's a man's thing because women have attachments, especially if they have a family, right? Wait, what do you mean you have to bring your son here? Can't you just leave him with like your sisters? Like, why would I go off to have a better life where I make $50,000 more dollars or whatever than or maybe even less money, but it's just everything else is better, right? Healthcare is better, whatever. I feel safe. But I'm going to leave my child behind? Doesn't make any sense, does it? But there are a lot of situations, I guess in Canada, it sounds like, right? Where it's like, oh, we don't have support for people's children. Oh yeah, children. Forgot about those. Because supposedly Canada is, well, everywhere, honestly. Everyone's population is going down slowly. People are having children at later and later ages.
Is that your
Yeah. So, you end up having less people. And then you need immigrants. Like, Canada kind of needs immigrants because they don't have a lot of people. This hypothetical situation where don't bring your kid with you. We don't have any support for them. Alright, you're going to give me a mixed metaphor for this next segue, which we're going to talk about Romania some more. Yep. I want people to keep that in their sights if they can. Romania is going through some stuff. They're doing a rerun of their election, and they're trying not to fall to Russian propaganda. This is by Stephen McGrath and Nicolae Dumitrash on AP News. Coming out of Bucharest, Romanians are confronting a deluge of online disinformation ahead of the fraught presidential election redo next week, including ominous claims that the NATO member countries is surging towards imminent war with Russia. Also, good morning, Omlin. I saw you earlier come in. I forgot to say hello. Hello. Thank you for stopping by. The campaign attributed to unidentified anti-government and pro-Russian actors underscores how large social media platforms can be exploited to fuel distrust and spin anti-Western narratives. Russia is also half Western, by the way, but don't tell them that. It's also a somber lesson for other democracies across the European Union. Romania's political landscape was shaken last November when Călin Georgescu, a little-known far-right populist, won the most votes in the first round of the presidential election, advancing to the runoff against the reformist Elena Lasconi of the Progressive Save Romania Union Party. Soon, allegations emerged of electoral violations, a Russian campaign prompting Georgescu following declassified intelligence showing a highly sophisticated, coordinated campaign via TikTok. I mean, honestly, if you guys want a better world, uninstall TikTok. This isn't like some anti-Chinese propaganda. I seriously think TikTok is ruining the 15... Well, I guess now they can have longer videos, right? They can have hour-long videos. The deluge of what... I mean, I have the same problem with watching shorts, too. So, I just feel like
Yeah.
TikTok's
All
particular.
all those short videos.
Maybe I'm just a hater, but I think TikTok's particular algorithm is not good for coordinated campaigns. Or I should say, I guess they're too good for coordinated campaigns. Because, oh wow! I don't know who to vote for, but I kept seeing Georgescu on my TikTok feed. So I guess I'm voting for him.
Yeah.
Moscow denied any meddling, because why would they reveal it right now when they're doing it still? They'll reveal they meddled after they win the election, and Romania is part of the Russian Federation. Okay, that's what. By the way, we got ya. April Fools. Romania's constitutional court then annulled the vote in order to redo. Georgescu, who has praised Russian President Vladimir Putin and criticized NATO and the EU, is now under criminal investigation. In March, he was barred from running in the May 4th election redo, prompting chaos on the streets of Romania's capital, Bucharest, as his incensed supporters staged protests that descended into violence. That's a great look. What happened in Romania unnerved Brussels and raised questions about foreign interference. The EU Commission responded by launching an ongoing probe into TikTok to determine whether it had violated EU's Digital Service Act in failing to deal with risks to Romania's election. Some 8.5 million Romanians aged 18 and above use the platform in the country of about 19 million. For its part, TikTok said it's dismantled in December covert influencer networks targeting Romanians, removing over 27,000 accounts that posted comments with a fake engagement vendor promoting far-right Alliance for the Unity of Romanians Party and Georgescu. So basically, the bots, they botted it. Oh look, this account has 1 million views on their videos, and they're talking about how Georgescu is going to be the new savior of Romania. Well, they must be right if all these people agree with him. Look at all the likes. All those likes were fake. 90% of those likes fake. Some bot put them there. It also removed more than 1,100 accounts impersonating presidential candidates of all stripes. Oh, that's also not good either. I mean, I don't know if people know this. I don't know how much people know this, but I wish we could all be rational human beings and follow logic and say, oh, this is good for me, I'm going to vote for that. But that's not how humans work. Humans go, wow, there are like a lot of people standing over there. Something important must be going on. I'm going to go stand over there too. Next thing you know, you're part of a Nazi rally because you didn't pay attention. You just saw a bunch of people. Like, a lot of people are followers. I'm a follower sometimes too. I can't always be a leader on every single issue that exists in the human consciousness. But sometimes you need to take that 1 second to go, wait, why am I following this large group of people? What are they even doing? Oh, they're doing Nazi salutes. Maybe I should stop following them.
Oh, wow. This is about... Right.
Yeah. Some people, right?
People don't know what they like until it's explained to them. Times, right? They don't even know.
Wait, yeah, that does sound bad.
It's like the people that got mad when Rage Against the Machine came out against the machine. It's like, they're against rich people controlling all of our lives. Imagine that. I can't believe these commies are against that. I was like, what did you think the machine they were talking about? Are you even paying attention to the lyrics?
Yeah. Of course, there's some people who kind of stand their ground in it because they're like, well, I've already spent 20 minutes in the Nazi rally. I might as well just stay here.
All my friends are here.
That too.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
We're in an auto club together. Anyway.
Yeah. I've already dug my hole. I might as well sit in it. Anyways.
Yeah, I've already got these 90 tattoos all over my forehead. Might as well stay.
TikTok also said it has taken steps to protect Romania's election integrity, including expanding its team of Romanian-speaking content moderators, partnering with local fact-checking groups, and in-app tools linking to official election information. But the disinformation didn't stop, and it wasn't just confined to TikTok. The declassified intel dedicated other platforms, including Telegram, Facebook, and of course YouTube, were also used, though through a lesser extent. So how does this disinformation work exactly? Unlike misinformation, which covers any false information, including honest mistakes and misunderstandings, hence the mis part, it was a mistake, disinformation refers to misinformation created and spread intentionally, mainly to confuse or mislead. According to Funky Citizens, a Romanian non-governmental organization, Those behind disinformation use emotional triggers such as claims of betrayal, injustice, or existential threat. Basically, they try to get you angry. This makes me angry, so now I really care about it. To erode trust in the democratic institution and create a parallel political reality. The NGO warned in April of a vast ecosystem of false narratives around Georgescu, who is now being promoted in this online sphere as the legitimate president of Romania. He never got elected. He won the first round of polling, and then they were like, this is suspicious. This guy, should not be first place. He's a nobody in the political form, right? Oh, you could argue it's some sort of huge grassroots movement, but unlikely, especially when you have Russia involved. Some of the narratives claim that annulling the election was a coup, supported by the EU, globalist elites, and intelligence agency. Yeah, it was annulled with support of the globe because it was suspicious and portray Romania as a victim of European or Western control. You know you're also part of that, right? You're European and Western. Other warn of imminent war with Russia or predict that conscription and martial law are next. A post on TikTok, now removed, tells Romanians that within a month their children will be sent to war. What has been complicated the matters is that many Romanians feel authorities have failed to sufficiently explain what led to the annulment of November's election. Elena Calistru, who runs Funky Citizens, told the Associated Press. The fact that we didn't have this kind of post-mortem of what happened, as well as the lack of accountability, is also fueling distrust. Expert Forum, a Romanian think tank, said the week the online political campaign has entered a new era dominated by industry of political promotion through inauthentic networks. We are witnessing an explosion of mass, coordinated, and candidate-friendly content created with the aim of simulating popular support and influencing public perception. Christian Andre, a political consultant in Bucharest, says disinformation is here to stay and won't magically disappear ahead of Sunday's rerun. So, what is the EU going to do? The EU's diplomatic service has labeled foreign interference, including disinformation, as a growing security and foreign policy threat. Last year, online disinformation surged ahead of the EU's parliamentary election, and Moldova, a EU candidate country, also faced an alleged onslaught of Russian interference in key ballots last fall. Cybra, an AI-powered platform that uncovers online disinformation, fake accounts, and influence campaigns, analyzed the discourse on Twitter in Romania related to the pro-Georgescu protests between March 6th and April 6th. Sharing its finding with AP, it said it has determined that 45% of the 639 accounts were fake, well above the usual 7 to 10 baseline. So, usually expect around 7 or 10 to be fake accounts. Almost half of them were not real. Cybra's CEO Dan Bromley said these accounts created fake consensus, making it seem like everyone was outraged when half of that everyone didn't even exist. In a 2024 report, Twitter said its human moderators proactively conduct manual content reviews in high-priority categories such as election-related content as part of its compliance with rules. Still, critics argue that under Elon Musk's ownership, Twitter has become a hotbed of disinformation. Calistru of Funky Citizens expects hybrid attacks on our electoral system to intensify in Romania ahead of Sunday's vote. 11 candidates are vying for the top job, and if none wins more than 50% of the ballot, a runoff will be held 2 weeks later. Adding to the storm were remarks by U.S. crony J.D. Vance and Musk, like Moscow, criticized Romania for avoiding last year's election and barring Georgescu from the May vote. If your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with, Vance said, as very knowledgeable on that fact. Are you, Vance? You know all about destroying democracy with some money? You know about that? I think he's very close to that idea.
Yeah, he knows he's all about it.
I think maybe he wasn't directly involved, but he's definitely the winner of said few $100,000 of digital advertising.
J.D. Vance is bought and paid for by Peter Thiel,
exactly.
who's a gay Republican who owns PayPal. So,
there you go. And who also owns part of PayPal? Elon Musk. So, anyways.
I think he sold. His PayPal interest.
Let me finish off the story.
That's how he got really rich.
Between April 13th and April 20th, Romania's Central Election Bureau stepped up enforcement. It approved 153 complaints and ordered the removal of more than 500 online posts, including unverified content from anonymous accounts, mislabeled ad by politicians, and posts by people who don't hold public office but could possibly influence the electorate. It's been a difficult balancing act, protecting freedom of expression and defending democracy against disinformation. Some of the election bureau's removal drew criticism and accusations of silencing political views of private citizens, which it denies. No, we looked at them. It was a bot from Russia. Asconi, who was to face Georgia Sko in the runoff and is running on Sunday's election, said she was mocked when she warned of interference last year. No one took me seriously, she said. It turns out I was right. 45% of these accounts were not real. Remember that, guys. You know, anybody in Romania who believes that the election was stolen, just repeat that statistic to them. 45% of the accounts that they found were not real people. 45.
I think that's true in every social. I think it's
Probably.
true in all social media. That half of them are fake accounts, just bots.
Yeah.
Bots programmed to
it's a great way to
respond
get people to use your platform. If a bunch of bots are getting you angry and then you're spending 50 minutes a day arguing with bots on the internet. Wow, look at all these people who are on my website arguing with nobody.
Yeah. It's like somebody's YouTube channels get. Why does this crappy channel get 100,000 subscribers?
They bought them.
They bought a bunch of bots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy. I could do it right now. Go. I'll spend all my money on subscribers for my YouTube channel, and none of them would watch because they're just bots. You don't get any of the views. You get all the subscribers.
You might get comments.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway. I don't know. But there's my story.
Still comment. Okay.
Got a mixed metaphor about Romania's questionable election.
Yes, I do. Well, not a mixed metaphor, which is sort of like if politics is a novel with many stories, details, background information, TikTok is like graffiti on the wall. There you go.
Like graffiti, dude.
That's right. No information, just something to get you riled up.
Yeah. Wow, I can't believe somebody. What was again? I forget now. Famous graffiti. People say famous things.
Person,
Jesus, God is dead. Oh my God, God is dead, guys. This graffiti is obviously telling the truth.
A transgender person used the bathroom. Oh my God.
Lucy loves Steve. I knew it. I knew Lucy was cheating on me. All right, anyways, my next segue is going to be accurate metaphor simile. Do you want me to use this Elton John song as a mic drop, or you just want me to listen to the song?
Maybe use it as a mic drop unless we find something better.
Okay.
It's a good song. It isn't like some bad song. It's like,
just the problem with songs that we get copyright striked if we play an entire song.
Well, it's from a concert, but I think if we talk over, I don't know. We'll probably get a copyright strike. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you'll get copyright strikes because it's a song, and that's the end. There's no logic. It's a bot who does it. Can't tell computers any logic.
All right, maybe
they've already made their
decisions. I don't know. That's all I could come up with. Anyway, let's go to outer space. This is from SciTechDaily.com. Breakthrough discovery: a massive glowing hydrogen cloud found near our solar system. Of course, the solar system is full of hydrogen. Why should that be a surprise? Hidden for eons, a vast hydrogen cloud near Earth has been revealed through ultraviolet light, potentially revolutionizing how scientists explore the birthplaces of the stars. Anyway. Scientists have uncovered a colossal, previously hidden hydrogen cloud named Eos, just 300 light years away from Earth. Just 300 light years away. Right down the street. The closest such discovery ever. Detected by its faint ultraviolet glow, Eos offers an unprecedented opportunity to study how stars are born. The team, led by Rutgers researchers, used an innovative technique that may transform our understanding of cosmic structures. The ancient hydrogen has traveled for 13.6 billion years, and its discovery opens the door to even more breathtaking finds from the nearest to the most distant researches of the galaxy. Of course, all hydrogen is the same age, I would imagine. It's like it helped form our galaxy. So why would it hey, some new hydrogen was produced out there. Maybe, I don't know. Discovery of the massive, anyway, a team of international scientists led by astrophysicists from Rutgers University, New Brunswick, has discovered a giant star-forming cloud, one of the largest structures ever observed in the sky, and among the closest to Earth and the Sun. This massive cloud, made primarily of hydrogen, had remained hidden until researchers searched specifically for its main ingredient, molecular hydrogen. It is the first time a molecular cloud has been detected through light emitted in a far ultraviolet part of the electromagnetic spectrum, opening new possibilities for exploring the universe in this way. The scientists named the cloud Eos after the Greek goddess of mythology, who is the personification of dawn. Their findings are detailed in a study published on April 28th, today, in Nature Astronomy. This opens up possibilities for studying the molecular universe, said Blakesley Burkhart. Blakesley? Somebody named their kid Blakesley. Wow. An associate professor of the Department of Physics and Astronomy at Rutgers School of Arts and Sciences, who led the team and is the author of the study. Burkhart is also a research scientist at the Center for Computational Astrophysics at the Flatiron Institute in New York. Flatiron Institute sounds like a place where they make muffins or something. Molecular clouds are composed of gas and dust. The most common molecule being hydrogen, the fundamental building block of stars and planets, and essential for life. Yes, a great deal of our body is hydrogen. They also contain other molecules such as carbon monoxide. Molecular clouds are often detected using conventional methods such as radio and infrared observations that easily pick up the chemical signature for carbon monoxide. Well, if you got carbon, you got life. I would think you have the potential for life. Of course, carbohydrates is 1 part carbon, 1 part, or maybe 3 parts hydrogen, right? We are big sugar, in other words.
Complex sugar,
it's carbohydrate. Yeah. Right. This is the first ever molecule discovered by looking for far ultraviolet emission of molecular hydrogen directly. A really hard sentence to say, Burkhart said. The data showed glowing hydrogen molecules detected via fluorescence in the far ultraviolet. The cloud is literally glowing in the dark. Eos poses no danger to Earth and the solar system because of its proximity. The glass cloud presents a unique opportunity to study the properties of structure with interstellar medium, scientists said. The interstellar medium made of gas and dust that fills the space between the stars of the galaxy serves as a raw material for new star formation. When we look through our telescopes, we catch the whole solar system's in active forming, but we don't know in detail how that happens, Burkhart said. Our discovery of Eos is exciting because we cannot directly measure how molecular clouds are forming and dissociating, and how a galaxy begins to transform interstellar gas and dust into stars and planets. That's right. Gathers them all together and goes kaboom, and there's a big bang. And we have a solar system. Everything starts evolving and around each other, and in a couple billion years, you got a solar system. The crescent-shaped gas cloud is located about 300 light years away from Earth, which I already mentioned. It sits on the edge of a local bubble, a large gas-filled cavity in space that encompasses the solar system. Wow. The scientists estimate that Eos is vast in projection on the sky, measuring about 40 moons across the sky with a mass of about 3,400 times that of the sun. The team used the models to show it's expected to evaporate in 6 million years, so set your clocks. To use the far ultraviolet fluorescence emission technique could rewrite our understanding of the interstellar medium, uncovering hidden clouds across the galaxy and even out in the farthest detectable limits of the cosmic dawn, said Tavasha. Whoa, look at this name. Said Tavasha Dharmawadena, a NASA Hubble Fellow at the New York University, and a author of the study. Eos was revealed to the team in data collected from far ultraviolet spectrograph called FIMS-SPEAR, an acronym for fluorescent imaging spectrography. that operated as an instrument on the Korean satellite ST-SAT-1. A far ultraviolet spectrograph breaks down far ultraviolet light emitted by a material into its component wavelengths, just as a prism does with visible light, creating a spectrum that scientists can analyze. The data had just been released publicly in 23 when Burkhardt came across it. It was kind of like just waiting to be explored, she said. Why EOS devoted detection for so long? These findings highlight the importance of innovative observational techniques in advancing the understanding of the cosmos, Burkhardt said. She noted that EOS is dominated by molecular hydrogen gas, but is mostly CO dark, meaning it doesn't contain much of the material and doesn't emit the characteristic signature detected by conventional approaches. That explains how EOS eluded being identified for so long, researchers said. The story of the cosmos is a story of rearrangement of atoms over billions of years, Burkhardt said. The hydrogen that is currently in the EOS cloud existed at the time of the Big Bang and eventually fell onto our galaxy and coalesced nearby the sun. So it's been a long journey of 13.6 billion years for those hydrogen atoms. So there's your story on the, let's call it a hydrogen cloud, on the edge of our solar system. But that's still 300 light years away. So
we really have to shoot for the stars when it comes to space. Am I right? There's our metaphor. Really, it's so crazy how we're just a bunch of cosmic dust that happen to create, minds that can understand what's going on. Why? Let me roll the wheel for our next story.
Wait. And the thing is, this could have already happened 300 years ago, and we don't know it because it takes 300 years for that light to reach Earth. So it's 300 light years away.
Yeah. So
it could have created a Big Bang 299 years ago. We ain't gonna find out until next year.
Exactly. All right, I sent you a link. Start at 2 minutes and turn on the closed captioning so you understand it. I think, 'cause I think it's in Dutch. And you also need to remind yourself of a song. So, remind me of a song is what you rolled for this next story, which is about Monty Python and its 50th anniversary of, I guess, coming out. This is by Guy Lodge on The Guardian. It was with some surprise as Guy gathered his recollections of Monty Python the Holy Grail before its 50th anniversary this week, and he realized he had not seen it fully only once back when it came out, but when he was considerably younger. It felt like more, like you watched it more than once, but only actually once have you fully watched the narrative. Featured by Britain's best-loved TV sketch troupe, and is the most fondly and frequently and recognizably referenced comedies in all cinema. The film's best scenes are hard to separate from the various everyday quotations or pub impressions thereof. Some comedy is made not so much to stand as individual art, than to be absorbed into our collective comic language. And so it was with Monty Python. Their best work is true of endlessly imitatable idioms and accents to be relished with or without context. In all truth, Guy remembered laughing at Monty Python and the Holy Grail more vividly than they remember laughing except what they exactly were laughing at. They just remember laughing at the film. For this, he must be blamed his late father, whose laughter, loud and barking, often beat ahead of lines already known and eagerly anticipated. Perhaps he recalled more vividly than his own. The film was one of the jumbled canon of comedies that, over the course of Guy's childhood, had eagerly presented to his brother, and from him, a form of hit-and-miss results. Yeah, it's very scary to show your favorite film, especially your favorite comedy film, to somebody else, and they're like, I didn't really find it that funny. I didn't see what was really funny about it. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It's hilarious! What do you mean you don't see what's funny? Paper Moon? Holy sheer joy, those two magnificent men and their flying machines, he chuckled alone. Monty Python and the Holy Grail was amongst the hits. Some giggles fits are too giddy not to catch on. For Guy watching it a second time on his own, he probably caught a good deal more of the jokes that were not drowned out in his childhood. While others he did remember, notably the famous running debate about the airspeed of a laden swallow, were more dementedly extended and involved than he might have guessed. The real surprise of this return visit was the remarkable strike rate of the gags. He expected a scattershot of affair of lunatic, that's the word. Scattershot affair of lunatic highs and groan-worthy lows, as tends to be with the pattern of sketch comedy. It's like, that one was not good, that one was bad, it's so bad it's painful. But the film's antic wit is sustained better than its knowingly slipshod narrative and its flashes of avant-garde style might suggest. Formally and structurally, the film may have been chaotically experimental venture for much of the Python team, not least first-time featured directors Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones, but minute-to-minute jokes? No uncertainty there. It could have gone terribly wrong, of course. By 1973, when Monty Python and the Holy Grail was conceived, the team's BBC show Monty Python's Flying Circus was 3 series in and well on its way to the curious kind of status somewhere between cult and national treasure. It was popular enough to have already prompted a 1971 film spin-off that was more little than a greatest hits compilation, recreating numerous sketches from the show and stringing them together in an attempt to engage the elusive American market. And now for something completely different, with something of a redundant curio, funny certainly, but hardly cinematic. If the group were to have a big screen career, they had to think beyond the short form work they had already mastered. They had to tell a story. Sort of. Arthurian legend had enjoyed a pop cultural revival ripe for spoofing. The chintzy Broadway tunes of Lerner and Lau's Camelot were still ringing in the audience's ears by the early 70s, while the T.H. White's popular tetralogy, The Once and Future King, had been given the Disney treatment in The Sword in the Stone a decade prior. Re-imaging King Arthur, played with a wonderfully queer bluster and defensiveness by the late Graham Chapman, and his Knights of the Round Table as an alternatively brutal and effectual band of dolts, Gilliam and Jones' film dismantled the macho romanticism of the Matter of Britain in a one fell swoop, with a simple running gag that also handily got around the lack of animal wrangling budget. No horses, just a limp-wristed, lolloping gait and 2 clopping coconut halves to underline their absence. What is a knight without a steed? About as powerful as a knight without a court, both of which apply to poor hamstrung Arthur here, as he trudges vainly across England in search of who knows what exactly, earning only the contempt of his skeptical, mud-stained subjects. Just because some watery tot threw a sword at you, one mutters, and mysteriously invading French adversaries along the way. It's a healthily Republican rejoinder to the reams of odd Arthurian lore, thinking some startlingly pithy class commentary in amid the loopy japping. "I didn't vote for you," said one of the unimpressed countrymen to the horseless hero. "You don't vote for kings," Arthur counters, as if that answer raises no further questions. But if sentimental historical myth-making comes in for a skewering here, so does the drab, earthly severity of the folk horror wave in the 1970s British cinema. Extremities of violence and eroticism are here rendered ridiculous, even benign. Gilliam and Jones' film may have willfully shaggy affair, delighting in its absurd logical leaps and blunt narrative dead ends, but it's consistent in its undermining of rigid British storytelling traditions, not just the gleefully vulgar anachronisms of Carry On's films, but with its own kind of gonzo and political integrity. Yeah, a lot of people do die in the Holy Grail. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. A lot of people die, and it's never seen as tragic or...
Bring out your dead!
Yeah. It's never seen as tragic or gruesome. It's just kind of... It's just like a joke. That guy's getting killed by a rabbit.
If you're killed by a cow landing on...
Yeah, that's
cow landing on you, right. Yeah. The hilarious death.
Or jumping out of the window of your tall tower. Half a century on, the film is palpable...
Cast into the pit of eternal peril.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't
Answer
know.
to questions 3. Are Blue, no!
Half a century on, the film is palpably a product of its era, visible in its own stylings as those of contemporary works it responds to. But the Python sensibility remains so strangely, dizzling sui generis that it can't really date all that much either. The team had more ambitious, polished films in the future. Life of Brian still carries an exhilarating subversive punch, while The Meaning of Life returned to the fragmented sketch format with a greater sense of perverse philosophical inquiry. Gilliam's own flair for Baroque lunacy, meanwhile, would reach artsier highs and grisly lows in the ensuing directorial career. But Monty Python and the Holy Grail remains a pure comic peak for him and the collective alike. A film made to be recited by heart, hilarious even as a secondhand evocation, and still possess the pleasure and surprises that generations of cultists haven't yet spoiled. So, get out your coconuts, find your nearest 50th anniversary celebratory playing of the Monty Python and Holy Grail, and I guess have a laugh.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, hang them coconuts.
That's my
reminds
story.
you of a song that was easy. It reminds you of a song. There's songs in the show. So the song it reminded me of in the movie was Brave, 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 Brave Sir Robin.
Sir Robin. And he stabs everyone
away,
in the entire castle as they're having a wedding. Just kills everyone.
Oh, that was Lancelot.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, you're right, Lancelot.
Yeah. Sir Robin personally wed himself at the Battle of Bristol or whatever. and they ate Robin's minstrels, and there was much rejoicing.
Yay!
It was during the rough winter. They were forced to eat Robin's minstrels, and there was much rejoicing. Anyway,
And there was much rejoicing.
there's your song. Okay.
Let's look at my
All right.
last. All right, alliteration
I don't have any
headline
more stories.
for this day in
This
history.
day in history. Man, at least you can get limerick. That's a tough one. I get 14.
For once, I don't get
50
limerick.
stories,
Yeah.
and then you gotta write headlines for a bunch of different stories, maybe. I don't know. 1442 on this day, King Edward IV of England was born and ruined France. He totally ruined France for everybody. His name of the town was Ruin, France. In 1758, James Monroe was born. He was the 5th president of the United States, who asserted a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy in the Monroe Doctrine, which the Monroe Doctrine was, we own North America from ocean to ocean. That was the Monroe Doctrine. We don't care about North and South, just East to West. We're getting all the way across. Because the trade routes, right? That was the main thing. 1789, Captain William Bligh of the British ship Bounty and 18 of his men were set adrift by mutinous sailors led by the master's mate, Fletcher Christian. William Bligh, Captain Bligh, legendary. Mutiny on the Bounty. Oh, yeah. 1878, the American actor Lionel Barrymore was born in Philadelphia. Lionel Barrymore, of course, played Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. Great uncle of Drew Barrymore. 1881, gunfighter Billy the Kid escaped from prison in Mesilla, New Mexico, a place where we used to eat dinner, as a matter of fact. We used to eat lunch there. It's a place called La Posta in Mesilla, New Mexico, which is right next to Las Cruces, where we used to eat lunch, dinner, whatever. Mesilla, New Mexico. Anyway, Billy the Kid escaped from that prison, a jail. It wasn't really a prison. It was just the town jail, where he had been convicted of murder and sentenced to death. He was killed several months later by Sheriff Pat Garrett. So the legend has it. But yeah, Billy the Kid escaped from La Posta, which was the county jail back in 1881. 1926, American author Harper Lee was born. Of course, Harper Lee won the national acclaim for her novel To Kill a Mockingbird. In 1947, Norwegian ethnologist and adventurer Thor Heyerdahl and a small crew set sail from Peru aboard the primitive craft Kon-Tiki and arrived Polynesia 3.5 months later. They were just trying to prove that people could sail across the Indian Ocean without any kind of steam power. And they did it eventually, but it was an adventure.
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, there's a book about it that I had to read the book Kon-Tiki in I think 7th grade or 8th grade, and it was the most torturous 6 weeks of my life. I've been writing papers on that. It was terrible. I mean, it's like, this ain't college, man. You're making us write papers. Anyway, 1952, the Allied occupation of Japan came to an end after 7 years of rapid social and economic change following the country's surrender in World War II. I don't think we never really stopped occupying Japan, to tell you the truth. 1967, the height of Vietnam War, American boxer Muhammad Ali refused induction in the U.S. Army, citing religious reason. His subsequent conviction was eventually overturned by the Supreme Court. Of course, this was the U.S. government playing, using him as a scapegoat. Because if you know, most Vietnam War draftees were 19. Muhammad Ali was drafted at the age of 25.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, right? 1969, French leader Charles de Gaulle resigned his presidency, still a hero in France. 1996, Australian gunman Martin Bryant began a killing spree that left 35 people dead and some 18 others wounded in Port Arthur area of Tasmania, Australia. It was the country's worst mass shooting and led to stricter gun controls. How many mass shootings have they had since then, Australia? I bet you it's 0. Because they decided, hey, who needs these fucking weapons? Nobody. The military doesn't even trust their own people with them. They have to lock them up. You don't get to carry your gun around in the military. Morons. 2001, American businessman Dennis Tito became the first space tourist when he was launched into orbit aboard a Russian supply mission to the International Space Station. He paid approximately $20 million for the 6-day trip. Oh, asshole. Anyway, 2003, Apple launched its iTunes Store, which gave users the ability to purchase and download music from the internet directly to their iTunes library. In 2010, the store sold its 10 billionth song. You see that? You went after the Napster kid, and you could have just been making money the whole time if you just.
And then
been more
CD sales went down, and music made less and less money, and then now we're where we are now.
Yep. That's where we are now, with bad music everywhere. 2004, American television network CBS broadcast photographs depicting harsh treatment of the Iraqi inmates at the Abu Ghraib prison in U.S.-occupied Iraq, initiating the international debate on torture in the Geneva Conventions, which the United States...
Weird that you had to have a debate about it, but okay.
We came up with a great idea that people have rights, and now we're going to violate it because we came up with these things called rights. See that? Whoops. See how that works? We came up with rights. We came up with the rights so we can take them away. It's the only reason we came up with them.
You're welcome, guys.
It's like somebody buying you a car just so they can use it as punishment. You know, I was never a big fan of the parents that did that. You buy your kids a bunch of shit and then you take it away as punishment. It was like, shh, that's not working. That's not working. That doesn't work. That never works. They've done
studies on this, especially children behavior studies, and they're like, yeah, we found that punishing your children just makes them close off against you and hate you and resent you, and then that's why they don't visit you in the hospital when you get sick. That's what that punishing your children does.
That's exactly a metaphor for what the United States does with people, right? We pretend that we have rights. We pretend that we have these rights, and we never had them to begin with. And the government just takes them away as punishment for, whatever they did wrong. Nothing we did wrong.
Boy, I should trust you guys to not take everything away from me. Not.
Yeah, rights. Rights are a nice idea, but they're fictional. They don't exist. They're not a thing. You think they exist. Nope, the government can just take them. They're not really rights. They're privileges. In 1945, our featured event. Sorry, this is Mussolini. Yeah, great day in history. It's good to be a good Tuesday News Day. Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, or Il Duce. El Duce, more like it. After a series of military misadventures, became unpopular even among his fellow fascists, and was captured while trying to flee Italy and was executed on this day in 1945, along with his mistress. Which I don't know if she had it common, but what the hell? She's a mistress. Anyway, our feature biography, Saddam Hussein, President of Iraq. Happy birthday, Saddam Hussein. Born April 28, 1937. In Outage, Iraq. Of course, the CIA propped him up for years and years and years and years and years, just so we can invade Iraq a couple of times, just so we can get him, because he knew too much. Not because he was a brutal dictator, which he was, but again, he was a brutal dictator all that time. We just looked the other way because he was fighting Iran. And we said, oh shit, we gave this guy so much money to build up an army, he's out of control. And then we had to get rid of his army. So that was our short little story of Saddam Hussein being executed December 30th, 2006 at the age of 69 in the city of Baghdad. Other birthdays today, we did Harper Lee, Saddam Hussein, Terry Pratchett, an English author, born in 1948. Jay Leno's birthday today. Many
different books that you've probably read or watched or...
Oh, sure. Jay Leno, not famous for any books, but being famous for being a Tonight Show host and firing Conan O'Brien because Conan O'Brien.
We didn't get as many views as before
him.
because you actually have to have a transition period between, adding a new host to your show. I don't know if anyone ever thought of that. Who would have thought?
Yeah, you got to wait for the audience to actually get it, right? But he didn't wait for the audience to get it. He just, oh my God, them geriatric old people don't understand. What's this scary looking 6'6" redhead doing on my TV? With the fucked up hair.
Why is he so chaotic?
Anyway,
I liked Jay Leno. He was boring and told me what was going on with really bad jokes. Or something.
Yeah, Jay Leno was a great club comedian. Should have never hosted the Tonight Show. It just wasn't his thing, man. It wasn't his strong suit. Asking questions and listening to people's boring stories just wasn't his thing, man. Sorry. You could see him lose interest about halfway through every show. Anyway, Jay Leno's birthday today. He's turning 75. Holy crap, he's already old. He's older than Johnny Carson was when he quit. Penelope Cruz's birthday today. She's born in 1974, so she's turning 51. And what other days is it today? It's Global Pay It Forward today. So if somebody does something nice to you, just don't reward them. Just do something nice for somebody else. There you go. You don't have to. There you go. It's Pay It Forward Day. It's National Superhero Day. So I don't know if you can help a superhero. So that's a great opportunity to pay it forward. Superman jumps into a phone booth, saves your life. You jump into a phone booth and save somebody's life. There you go. Pay it forward. National Bravehearts Day. I think that has to do with kids with cancer because I see a bald-headed child, and children normally aren't bald. National Blueberry Pie Day.
Only fresh children are bald.
And some of them, actually, children a lot of times are born with a lot of hair that falls off within like a couple of days. Anyway, National Blueberry Pie Day and National Great Poetry Reading Day. So we didn't have any limericks or haikus today, but missed opportunity. So
oh,
your
darn,
days,
what a shame.
Your days, your news, your mispronunciations, your spins of the wheel, your information for April 28th, 2025 on Before Blueberry Pie.
Delicious. And for my alliteration, I've got for you Wait, what was the other days? I literally forgot the words I was gonna...
You gotta write it down.
Pay, poetry, and pie forward. There you go.
Pie forward?
Forward, yeah, is the new word I invented just now. For International UN Observances, I have a lot here because there's also one on Saturday that I forgot to cover on Friday. So first, we've got International Chernobyl Disaster Day. That's right. Remember the time when some scientists made some mistakes, a testing went out of hand, and a lot of people got radiation sickness. I don't know if we knew about radiation sickness before this happened, but I think after it happened, we really learned a lot about why we don't want to use plutonium in our nuclear anything, really. In our anything. Yeah. And now we use a totally different chemical reaction instead to create nuclear power.
A different isotope.
Yeah, different isotope, much more calmer and easier to control, doesn't explode. So,
radioactive,
it was a tragedy.
Radioactive elements. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It was a tragedy, but in some ways a necessary tragedy, so we could learn about our own hubris as human beings. It's also World Intellectual Property Day on the WIPO, which is, IPs. Everyone knows them. Everyone hates them because somebody can say, hey, you're not allowed to use that. That's my IP. So that's why we get copyright strikes every other day here on YouTube, thanks to Intellectual Property Day. For today, specifically, I think. Wait, actually, is it today? Or is it tomorrow still? Oh, no. For today, it's only one international UN observance, and that's World Day of Safety and Health at work. So, make sure you fight for your right to be safe at work and not have to worry about, losing your arm, getting crushed under heavy machinery, or breathing in dangerous chemicals that will give you cancer or all sorts of other diseases because they haven't done proper testing on humans. So OSHA is your friend, even if OSHA isn't there anymore, I think, in the US. Just getting rid of every protection. But you have your right to have a healthy life at work. And reminder, it's still World Immunization Week until the 30th of April, so make sure you make everyone aware to be taking their vaccine. Take your vaccines. Literally doesn't hurt anybody. Doesn't hurt you, doesn't hurt anybody else. I don't want to hear any arguments, okay? Be a good girl and a good boy and take your vaccines. We're done. This is the end of the show. This has been Allison from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the US, as we finish up another mucking fun day. I hope you're having fun, because it only gets better after today. Tomorrow is Good Tuesday, where we'll be covering all the good and positive news you need to hear to make yourself have hope in humanity, I guess. That's what tomorrow's show is all about. So take care of yourself, drink water, wear sunscreen, and let's go to our seal mic drop moment.
Al met al. I'm looking forward going to the WEC in Lauwershoek, but at the same time, it will be very hard.
So this is actually before they built
I've been
the new one, so this is kind of like
for 15 years. From
the previous place they were saving seals at.
Facilities, for the veterinarians in the new place, yeah, everything is going to be.
They're getting this is them getting really excited for the new place that just opened up on Saturday.
In Lauwershoek in the WEC, we have designed a new surgery room. And yeah, we have done it.
Look at that! These are like the surgery rooms they have, the little cedars.
We will be able to keep all the stuff needed at hand and really nicely and kept clean.
I think this is like the leader of the
bezoekers zullen
place.
dus vanuit de centrale hal.
Maybe the designer of the place. I'm not sure who this is.
En dan richting de Experience kunnen gaan. Dat bevindt zich in dat deel van het gebouw. En de Experience volgend kom je dan op de eerste etage de eerste zeehondenbaden tegen. Ja, we hebben hier in het wereldcentrum te maken met de inrichting van de zeehondenbaden op de tweede etage.
Right now,
dat betekent dat er aan de achterkant van het pand een hele routing is gemaakt om zieke zeehonden naar binnen te halen. Die een andere koers, een andere route volgen dan de gezonde zeehonden. Dus de zieke zeehonden gaan met een lift naar de tweede etage worden in de
sick seals don't get all the other sick seals
opgenomen, terwijl de gezonde zeehonden via een andere route weer naar buiten gaan als ze aan het einde van het traject zijn. Vlak na de entree je het eerste grote bad tegenkomt. Dat is het enige bad waar je vanuit deze ruimte naar binnen kunt kijken. Zeg maar het eindstadium van de baden voordat de zeehond weer vrij
That's where you can look at the seals.
De water wordt continu ververst en recirculeerd. En we circuleren in dit bad ongeveer 130 kubieke meter per uur aan water.
And they get the water fresh from the ocean, so there's no like additional.
Ik denk de grootste uitdaging in dit hele project voor mij is geweest de hele voorbereiding voor de waterzuiveringsinstallatie. Het is de eerste keer in Nederland dat het überhaupt op deze manier wordt ingericht. Dus waarbij er direct water vanuit de Waddenzee, vanuit de zee wordt gebruikt.
I mean, it sounds like something that should be possible, right? But you still have to be worried that you don't get, pollution in your water.
Hier zijn we in het hart van de waterzuiveringsinstallatie.
Oh, so they have the water treatment facility
dus het idee
right
is dat
in
water
the
komt uit de
building.
Waddenzee, is nog verontreinigd. Via drumfilters wordt de eerste viezigheid uit het systeem gehaald. En dan zie je hier in de blauwe containers, dat zijn de zandfilters.
Yeah, there can be some really bad stuff in sand.
Veiligheid uit het water gefilterd. En als het dan dusdanig schoon is dat het gebruikt zou kunnen worden, behandelt de ozon achterin nog de laatste, zeg maar de bacteriën die in het water zitten. In het water zitten en de virussen die worden er daaruit gefilterd. Nou, dus dit is de röntgenkamer, dus een van de ruimtes die je ook vanuit de Experience kant kunt bekijken.
Oh, cool. So you can
dit
see
is
people
viskeuken.
doing stuff in here. If you
Hier hebben we
go visit, you can actually see doing
eerste vlonder voor
loves the viewing
bezoekers
platform,
om over de baden
especially
heen
to
te
see.
kijken.
That's so cool.
Nou, wat je hier ziet is het laboratorium van waaruit onderzoek gedaan gaat worden door de universiteiten. Dit zijn nog 2 klaslokalen die gebruikt gaan worden.
And I also can teach people how to take care of seals.
Dynamische
I'm going to
centrum
school to take care of seals.
Van het Werelderfgoedcentrum.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.